I'm Warren Sprouse. I want to welcome you to the Bible Forum on this edition. This is May 3rd, 2015. We're going to be spending a couple of hours together. We have a number of things that we're going to be discussing. Wanted to put them out there so that you have some understanding of what they are. We'll just topics, just synopsis format, with the idea that if you're interested, you can go to our website, thebibleforum.net, and the videos are available there every week. There's a carousel in the bottom right-hand corner, and it plays whatever we talked about last week. You can do that, and we hope that you'll join us here on the Bible Forum every Sunday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This was the week for the High Court. They had taken up the issue of same-sex marriage. I wrote a blog, Same-Sex Marriage Comes to the High Court. This was one of those interesting things you get to watch. Are we going to be the first society in the history of mankind that will establish, condone, legalize homosexual marriage? Some of the justices on the High Court were questioning that very issue. Why is it that these other societies, who were largely pagan, why is it they never did this? What we're being told is that this is the criticism of this is coming from people like me, from the religious crowd, because they hate homosexuals. They don't want to. No, it is unnatural. It is not normal. It is destructive physically, emotionally, and every other way. And nobody knows what it will do to a society. Right now, Norway, I think it is, Scandinavia, not Scandinavia, I think it's Norway, Netherlands, Dutch, that would be Dutch. Anyway, they did this in '09, and the jury is still out. I'm not quite sure how that's all going to play even now. Here in Baltimore, a little bit further north of Washington, D.C., there were riots. I wrote a blog called The Anatomy of a Riot. I think this is a tempest in the teapot. I put the picture of Elijah Cummings on the front of my blog because he's a U.S. representative in Maryland, and he stood in a pulpit in a church where this young fellow was being laid to rest, and instead of trying to calm things down, he stirred things up. And I think this riot is a faux riot. It is not real. These people are not in the street because they really honestly believe that there is some kind of racial bias going on. 63% of the city is black. 43% of the police department are black. Three of the officers involved in this were black. One was a sergeant. The mayor is black. The district attorney, they call her something else, is black. The police chief is black. It's not really what these folks are saying. They found an excuse, and they got to the street, and they started tearing things up and burning things down. A CVS store. What in the world does that do to anybody? Along with that came another blog a little bit later in the week called A Mob by Any Other Name. And I've got the picture of Al Sharpton on there, because anytime there is a racial scuffle, dust up, you can bet money that Al Sharpton is going to show up. I don't know why they can't find this man a job, but he shows up and he stirs up and he tries to aggravate people and get this thing all wound up, but it's really not working well. The issue in Baltimore is really not where Al Sharpton wants to plant his flag. It is an entirely different animal. And the facts, as they're starting to come out, are pointing to something entirely different than what we are led to believe from the beginning. I also wrote another blog on the counseling website because it really lends itself to a counseling issue, the more emotional, the more structural kinds of thing. And I'm calling it The Cascading Effect of Same-Sex Marriages. And in this blog, I try to anticipate what it is that's going to happen. What are the kinds of things that get created here, and what good do they do a society? if a child grows up in a traditional family where the emphasis is on the unit and on the children and progeny and so forth, is he going to have a worldview and a view of marriage that's significantly different from that of a child who grows up with two mommies or two daddies in a relationship that is probably not going to last? There are statistics on homosexual unions, marriages, and whatever, and it's not pretty. The divorce rate is up over 160%. And if the women do not have babies, if they can't get children, it's 200%. What is the long-term effect on the institution of marriage if the children are growing up seeing this kind of thing and don't have daddies or don't have mommies? We tend to think in our society, it's a philosophical truism, that it really doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you have a mommy and a daddy as long as you have somebody. Well, it's really not true, and it does impact children's lives. We'll look at that a little bit later on. Another one that I did on the website, theviewfromzoar.com, and that's one that looks at the culture, looks at the kinds of things that are happening from the view that Lot had with his daughters after the angel had dragged them out of Sodom, where they were engaged in sodomy. And they had a view from the hillside, from Zoar, to the destruction of the cities of the plain. And so I've coined that concept for this particular blog to look at society as it is coming unglued, as we are moving toward Armageddon, quite honestly. This one is entitled On the Eve of Destruction. And it shows a picture of a fetus and what is supposed to be the trail of a DNA strand, because scientists have discovered what it is that triggers these various chemicals, molecules, what triggers them to engage or to disengage, to turn on or turn off. They've been looking at this for a number of decades. There are trillions of these in our body, and they have to go on and off at certain times in order to make certain things happen. And they have come up with a solution. They think they now know how this all works and why it works. Now, that's a scientific thing, and you say it doesn't really have anything to do with counseling, and it doesn't have anything to do with me. But here's the thing. Nowhere in this scientific article do they talk about evolution. Now, they don't run it down. They just don't talk about it. And they don't talk about it because there is no way that evolution can really explain this. Which begs a question. Are we animals? Or are we higher creatures than that? Sentient creatures created by a God? Or did we just evolve from some primordial ooze? And does it really matter in the total scheme of things, in our sociology, in the way we live our life, excuse me, the way we interact with people, the way we reproduce philosophies and all the rest of it? Does it make a difference if I'm just another animal that's here for a while and gone, or if I am created to live eternally? How does that impact the way I live? And how does that impact the psychology, the emotion, the kinds of things that are driving me either to be healthy emotionally or to have problems? We'll look at these, and we'll look at other things right here on the Bible Forum, thebibleforum.net, every Sunday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us.